Hi, this is Derek Murphy. I'm going to try to make a video platform review. Sorry I'm so behind in doing this. I hope this video helps you to point some things out. I'm also going to be adding some new resources to the Guerrilla Publishing course soon, so I hope those will help also. But this is just some quick feedback on your books and the platform and Amazon page to see if there's anything that I can suggest to improve sales. I really like this website. I think it's really cool and well designed. You've got a book cover up here, which I don't think the book covers are amazing, but they match, like they don't stand out as poorly designed or anything. I think they're probably fine, and they kind of match the style that you've got going on your website already, so it looks good here. One thing I noticed that was a little weird, up here you have weirdandwakyplanet.com, which I would assume is your brand, and you have Weird and Wacky Planet as your kind of big logo, but this isn't on that website. This is on the www.kb.car.com website. So I just checked, and weirdandwakyplanet.com actually redirects to the wkbcar.com, which is fine. And I understand from a branding perspective, it's kind of nicer on your website if you want to be like the subject brand, which is kind of a good idea. Having that, like having a business card with Weird and Wacky Planet with a website that matches, makes sense. But I think there's a way to actually mask it so that when they go to the site, it keeps that, it continues to show Weird Wacky Planet instead of showing the KB card. Most people aren't probably going to notice that anyway, so it's not a really big deal. You do have a lot of stuff going on in the menu here, which is probably fine, but it's a little overwhelming because I don't really know what to do. So you have get free books, and also books, school visits, store, libraries. I feel like this could be generally, if you can have your menu on one line, it's better, and probably about 5 different options. So for example, a lot of this stuff you could put under for teachers. Like if you're selling these directly to parents or to kids, or if you're selling them to teachers or school visits or whatever. So like for schools and teachers could be one menu item, and then if you can do drop downs, then it could be library requests, school visits, teaching aids, that kind of thing. And then maybe about the author, under about the author could be news and events and press kit and maybe contact. I would probably, I don't know what request an AR quiz is. Teachers may know what this means, the AR quiz part. Maybe I just don't know that, so it might be fine for your audience. But if it's something like a quiz is a pretty good offer, a quiz would probably attract attention. So I would probably have like home, free books, take the quiz, and then something like for teachers, and then about. Because the other thing I don't see really clearly here is an about page. Like, what's this site about? Who is the author? What kind of content will they find? Things like that. Generally, the about page is the most high traffic site, because when someone lands when someone lands on a site, they click the about page to find out what's going on. Although you really should have something on your homepage as well that makes it really clear what you've got, because people won't really click around, especially if they don't know what all these things are. But if you have something here that says welcome, whoops, I just realized I was actually on your contact page already, which is why you didn't have a welcome message. So I'm on the homepage now, and this is pretty clear and good because it's very specific, but it's oddly almost too specific. It focuses on, there's a difference between features and benefits. So these are definitely features. This is exactly specifically what it's for. So for parents or for teachers, this makes a lot of sense if you're focused on schools. However, it's not really, the benefits would be like kids love these books. So maybe putting something first that is a review, or something that's a little more benefits driven. So benefit would be like kids love these adventurous animal books, or for kids who love animals, or adventurous animal books for kids ages 9 to 12. Just a little bit more specific, because also adventurous nonfiction books is too general. We don't know, like adventurous is a good description, but also it could be anything. And since I think you're mostly talking animals, I would put that in there also because of keywords. So if people who like animal kind of books or zoo books or something like that, you want some keywords up there. So I would almost focus a little more on the benefits first, and then have a subtitle that has the specific features. So like adventurous nonfiction books for kids who love animals, and then underneath that, for ages 9 to 12 with a reading level Lexar measure of 80-90. This is kind of cool down here. You have looking for best e-reader books for kids, get it here, which probably is an affiliate link to an Amazon product that's the best e-reader for kids. That's a really smart idea. If you even feature that a little more in your newsletters or just on your website here, then that might be able to, like if you make that one of your main pieces of content so that you highlight and you focus on it in your autoresponders, you recommend it, you may be able to increase your ad spend, because if you can spend more advertising to get people on your traffic, but some of those on your website, and some of those people are buying the device, once you get to the point where you're basically breaking even on ad spend, then you could spend more. So this is a good thing you're doing here. I hope this works for you. You may want to like not just have it on your homepage, but also feature it in other places. You could even like write an article, like a main article on your site somewhere, just talking about the best e-reader for kids, and then advertise that page, because you're getting people on your website and hopefully also selling the product. This is good too. It took me a second to figure out, join the WWP Adventure Club and get cool extras. For a second I was like, what's WWP mean? I get it, because it's Weird and Wacky Facts. Weird and Wacky Planet, actually. It's the kind of thing like, it should be so easy and obvious, but if it takes people a second or it's not spelled out for them, sometimes there can be a disconnect. That's probably just my problem. Like most readers would probably get that pretty quickly. Get cool extras is fine, but anything more specific, at least when they click this page, they should be taken to somewhere where you kind of spell out all the cool extras that they actually get. The only thing with these pages is, even though the background is really cool and I like kind of the magic dust going on, it's a little bit hard to read. I don't know if you could lighten the background a little bit or add a glow around. Probably not. It's probably fine, but you do want to make sure that the text is really legible. So on this page you say, grab your bonus downloads, and then you say, if you sign up, I'll send you your extra bonuses, but you still haven't really said what they actually get. What are the bonuses? What specifically are they going to get? You have this picture of all these books, which is a really nice, this looks like a bookmark or something, which would make a really nice bookmark if you print this out, but you haven't really said what you get. And also, if you ask them to put in their birthday, which is kind of like, I understand why you might want to do that, especially like you could remind people happy birthday by email, or you could send them a special offer or something, but you're going to get less subscribers if you do it this way. If you just ask for email and first name, you're going to get more subscribers, and maybe change this to like get your free bonuses or something. This is a pretty good about section for the author. It's a good idea to have it on the homepage. This could probably be shorter. Like maybe this paragraph could be combined. It seems like this text is taking up too much space. If you could have the text end like at the bottom of the photograph, because you have a lot of extra space here. You have the cool frog, so it's probably fine, but it's just taking up, it seems like there's some empty space that could be better done. Also, I think probably you should have the books up higher. This is a really cool little feature. Get the books here, probably go straight to your Amazon page. I'll click that in a minute. The covers do look really good, especially like I think just one on its own on Amazon doesn't really stand out as like amazing design. But when you see the whole series all together, there's definitely a branded feel. So I think that's good. But I would probably put this whole section up higher. And even though Strange But True is pretty good, it's a little like if you could make this smaller and do something like Strange But True Animal Facts You Won't Believe, just something that's a little more descriptive, and then get the books here. So I'd probably put this up above the author section. And then you might actually, here's some good, these are benefits driven testimonials or reviews. this is something I might put higher. So like, who knew that some of these animals existed? That's a really good hook for almost the entire brand. Like instead of new release, I would change that to who knew some of these animals actually existed. Also, this is taking up, like, this is really cool and well designed, but this is taking up a lot of space for the brand Weird and Wacky Planet. So like, you don't really see the benefits or features until down here. But like, if you put a quote up here on the top that said who knew some of these animals actually existed, that's a really good hook that stresses the value. Like, this is cool, interesting stuff that they don't know about. It really solidifies the brand message of Weird and Wacky Facts about animals. So I would put that like up here in bold, and maybe even up here somewhere, because like, this isn't a benefit, this is the brand. So even though you kind of like it looks fine, the branding is good, you could probably make this like a lot smaller. But I think even if you just, and I think this goes straight to somewhere. This is a nicely designed website. There's a lot of cool features here, but you want to make it really obvious what people are going to do, like what they should click on, what they should do. And you also need to make it really obvious what this website's about and what the benefits are. So like, newest release doesn't really say anything to me, but you won't believe these animals exist. And then like, click here to get the newest release, something like that. That might be better up here. If not up here, then up here, like on top. There's also like, this spacing seems a little bit tight. So if you add a review testimonial up here, and then this part is smaller, and then there's a little more space before the top of this cover, I think that'll work well. So I've gone over to your Amazon page now. Same comment with the blurb. Like, on the one hand, I think you could focus on more keywords in your author bio, which is really important. So you have like animal basically, but that's kind of the only keyword. So something like nonfiction, zoological, weird and wacky creatures, it's good that you have the keywords in there. But just focus a little more on the other kinds of books or titles that parents are going to be searching for. Like, because they're going to be searching for like best nonfiction animal books about blah, blah, blah. And also, I think this can be condensed a little bit. It seems like you're trying to say something with Jack is a girl, dog with a boy's name, which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I can't quite figure out the branding purpose. It's kind of, I mean, not exactly a weird and wacky fact. It is a good idea to talk about your pets in your author bio because everybody likes pets. There's nothing wrong with doing this. I think just because it stands out all by itself, it's like you're deliberately sharing this one piece of information which doesn't really have any specific meaning for readers, so it won't really make them more likely to buy. But this part is good. Like, she tries really hard to answer all questions that would relate to parents. This part might relate to kids, but maybe this could be one paragraph. So maybe you could just condense this a little bit. Kind of the same thing with spacing. There's a lot of extra text that goes down here. I know that they say online you want to break up things into smaller sections or sentences. Even maybe just moving this line to the end of this line and then combining it with this sentence, or combining all of these into one paragraph, or combining these into one paragraph. Little things, anyway. Up here, one thing that you don't need to do is repeat the series title, because you already have Weird and Wacky Creatures, and then you have Weird Creatures, and then you have Weird and Wacky Planet. So you're repeating a lot of keywords. This is like your prime real estate space. This is where your most important keywords have to happen. But also, if you're not using keywords, you want to be having benefits. So like, strange creatures that really exist is great because that's a really strong benefit. But if you repeat information, then it gets confusing. When people read it, they're like, weird and wacky, weird creatures, weird and wacky. Like they feel like they're reading the same thing over and over again, and that can be off-putting. So if you can focus on, I'd probably get rid of this part, Weird and Wacky Planet series. I don't think it needs to be up here. I would focus on Weird and Wacky Creatures, and then strange creatures that really exist, or you won't believe these strange creatures really exist, something like that up here in the benefits. might work better. And also, or as an alternative, including some other kinds of benefits, like something specific about what type of book this is or who it's for, or like kids books or nonfiction children's book, or a nonfiction children's book about crazy animals, weird animals, strange and weird animals, something like that. Also, yeah, because you repeat creatures and creatures, so you have an opportunity to hit more keywords if you said weird and wacky creatures 2, strange and weird animals you won't believe really exist, if that's the end of it, because then you hit a few other keywords with animals, but you also turn it into a benefit. This text needs to be broken up a little bit more. And then I think a really nice benefit here are fun activities you can do at home, and a glossary of huge scientific words you can use to stupefy your parents at the dinner table. That's really cool also. This should be, I would break this into another paragraph and then maybe just bold this part. There are fun activities, because that's a main selling feature both for kids and parents who want their kids, you know, when you buy a book, you want them to maybe have an activity book. So you want to highlight that feature, and even maybe put something at the bottom like, this is a fun activity book with a glossary. Like, these are some things you don't just want it to be kind of buried in this wall of text. You want it to be really obvious. Also, it doesn't look like you have a Kindle version yet. I'd definitely get a Kindle version up ASAP, because you can do a lot with the Kindle version. It'll generally have more visibility because it takes less sales. You could even, and I would recommend, putting book 1 on perma-free for a while, especially because you don't have reviews, which is the other main problem. You need more reviews on the books. Having an ebook version that you can give away easily makes it easier to get the reviews that you need. So this one is volume 1, and it looks like some of the things I mentioned, like you're using animals instead of creatures, that's a good idea. I don't think you need to repeat weird and weird 3 times in the description. And again, I'd probably take away the series title, because that's not really relevant information that will lead to the sale. So you have 3 reviews, which is a start, but you really need more. You need the ebook version up as well, even if it's an activity book. And I've had this struggle with Amazon. Sometimes you try to upload an ebook and they say, because this is an activity book, it's not suited for Kindle. I haven't found a way around that yet, but I think probably with persistence or positioning or something, you could figure out how to make that work, because having the ebook up really does make it easier to not only sell more copies and get better visibility and get more reviews. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions about trying to put this up as an ebook. You might have to remove maybe some of the activities, or something that works really well is you can just say, like, here's the ebook version, and then you can sign up for, if there's extra worksheets or whatever, you could say, go to my website to download all the bonus resources and activities and worksheets and PDFs. That's something you could offer as an opt-in. Oops, I don't know why this is coming up. So it could be something as an opt-in offer, although I would probably give away the free stuff first. So like, I would have one of these books on perma-free until you get more reviews, maybe like 25 reviews. So this would be like a free activity book. And you could even say in the description, like, a free activity book, free animal activity book for kids, the ebook version or whatever. Then in the front and the back of the book, you'd say, go to my website and download these free activity PDFs or worksheets, just as a way of providing value to your audience. And then, you know, if they like book 1, the nice thing about kids books with ebooks and activity books is that even if they get the free ebook, they may buy the print version. If they like the free ebook, but they want, like, they don't want to print all those activities and stuff by themselves, like, you can send them back to your website and say, download the free PDFs. And then at the bottom of those, like, in the PDF that they download, you could have a link back to your website and say, you know, make sure you buy the print book, or if you enjoy this, make sure you buy book 2 or something like that. I think if people like the free ebooks or even the cheap ebooks, I think they will buy the print version just for convenience or for ease. Like, if their kids really like it, then they'll probably like the print book. So I think it's fine to give away ebook copies, because I think it's likely a lot of people will come back for the print copies anyway. Yeah, so I would give away these PDFs or extra worksheets for free. You could also, especially like in the beginning when you're building reviews and you're building traffic, I also think just having stuff like that on your website, like taking it out of the book and putting them on your website and having a page. I think you already have a page on your website for free activity worksheets or whatever. I think there's a lot of search traffic. I also think there are a bunch of websites that just host activity worksheets for kids and parents. So I would look for those websites and submit your worksheets. Submit a whole bunch of your free worksheets or PDFs or activities on other websites that get a lot of traffic for parents who are searching for that stuff. And then at the bottom, those are all just free, totally free PDFs or downloads. But at the bottom of those, make sure you have a link to your offer. So you like your website and something that says why they should come to your website. So make sure you come to my website for more stuff like this, or for more weird and wacky animals you won't believe exist, or whatever. So because visibility is really important. So since you already have this kind of content, don't just put on your website. Look for other websites where people are giving away activity. I think if you just Google like activity worksheets for kids, or activity books for kids, or free download worksheets, coloring books even. If you don't have any, I think you can go to Fiverr.com and turn in, if your books are, and I haven't asked this, I'm not sure if these are like full color animal photos inside the book. Even if they are, I think on Fiverr.com you can get illustrators. I've done this in the past. For like $10 or $15, you can get really high quality illustration where they'll turn your picture into an illustration, into a coloring book. So you could take like 5 of your best animal pictures. These could be like animal photographs that you buy from stock photo sites, and you can turn them into basically coloring books, or just coloring pages, like free coloring pages, which is another value add. So that's another thing that you can put out on those other websites. This could be, you could turn it into extra activities. So like you could say, now updated in 2018 to include 10 different weird and wacky animal coloring pages. So that's a kind of like a free bonus or extra value, which wouldn't be very hard to do, to kind of just increase the benefits of your book, and also increase the things that you have to share. So you could take those animal, like weird and wacky animal coloring book pages, you could put those up on Pinterest, you could put those up on, like I said, on other websites that have activities or cheat sheets. Basically just put them up everywhere, all over the place, because if people see them and they're cool and they're useful and they can download them, their kids can color them. And I would also add something like, because I think your pages, actually let me, so I clicked on the look inside so I can see more of what's actually going on inside the book. I can see that it's really graphic heavy, so I can understand why you would want to have the print version, and even the color version. If this is a shorter book, I think it might make sense to just set up CreateSpace to have a color version, unless it's cost prohibitive. This looks like it's about 50 pages, so 50 pages, if it's full color, could get kind of expensive. But also, that's kind of why I would give away the ebook version. So I would say, like, it's difficult if you want to turn this into an ebook, it probably has to be a fixed format ebook, which is possible. It's not hard to do that. But then if you also want to include some things, like if it's an activity book and you want people to actually be able to write in or fill in stuff on the ebook, that's a different thing. I'm not an advanced ebook formatter. So I know somebody in the Guerrilla Publishing group, Heineck from Czech Republic, does advanced ebook formatting. So you could ask him some questions if you have questions about this. I do think it's important to get this made into an ebook. You might have to change some things around. The advantage with the ebook, both for like if it's a fixed format or if it's a PDF download, the advantage is that it can be in color. Whereas if they order the print version, this might be in black and white. I think probably it wouldn't be too hard to just get everything translated into a fixed format EPUB, which you could upload to KDP, and it probably will look good. It kind of look just like this. So the thing I was going to recommend, and the reason I looked inside, is I think you could get these animals or these photos turned into a coloring book and include a cool fact. So it could either be like a separate product. I would probably turn it into, like, I would take all the animals and turn them all into one page coloring book illustrations with a weird and wacky fact. So I would say, like, star-nosed mole. I would have a big picture, just one big picture, coloring book illustrated with it, which just means like the lines only, and then with the cool fact, and then your brand. So like weird and wacky animal planet, or click here for more weird and wacky animal facts. Yeah, sorry, you can actually put click here because this would be a PDF or a coloring book illustration that they would print out, but you can say visit this website for more weird and wacky facts. Visit my website, and you have visit www. Weird and Wacky Planet, I think it is, for more facts. So this is kind of just repurposing the same content. You already have these really great things. You would just pay someone on Fiverr to turn these into one-page coloring book illustrations with a fact and a branding message and call to action on each page. Then I would turn that into a coloring book, so you could have another product that's just a coloring book of weird and wacky animals for kids. That'd be a pretty easy thing to do and set up. I had some of those before, and I mentioned earlier that I tried to upload them to KDB Select, and they said no, like they wouldn't take them because they thought my ebook format, because they were coloring books, they weren't good for ebook. But you can take all of those illustrations and you can put those on free coloring book pages, basically websites. There's a bunch of websites for activities for kids, like free downloadable, printable activity sheets. There's also websites just for free coloring book pages for kids. And a lot of them are kind of boring because it's just a picture. I think if you have a weird and wacky animal collection with really interesting animal facts, then those would be really good content, and you could put those up on, like, you could just put them. I would put them, all of them, up everywhere, because some people will just download and print their own. That's fine, but that's lots and lots of free visibility. And I think some of those sites also, I'm not sure exactly how those sites work, but I think some of them might have sections for like most popular downloads. So if you're building a platform, or like if on your website you say, download these my favorite coloring book illustrations now, you could send your traffic to those other websites so that your content on those websites always shows up at the top for most popular downloads. If you can do tricks like that to get lots of visibility or to get featured on other websites, you could also just do like basic content marketing, which would be reaching out to, like, if you Google, actually I'll do it for you. Let's try it out. So all I've done is I've Googled coloring book animal pages for kids. So kind of what you want to do is think of all the things that people, like parents or kids, might be searching for, and try to make some kind of product that matches what they're searching for. So if you repurpose the content you already have and get some of these made, then when people are searching for things, they might show up. So these images up on top, I'm pretty sure are just Google images, which is also the cool thing about having children's books or content like this, is if you do make some images, and then you have to make sure when you upload images that you're using all of the meta data, which just means it'll ask you like the title and the description. It's kind of SEO stuff, but you just want to make sure that you're saying things like you don't just use the name of the upload, which is usually just some random string of numbers, but you say something like, weird and wacky animal coloring page book for kids, as the description of the image. This looks like, this one is from Pinterest, this one too. A lot of these are Pinterest. This one's from YouTube. So this is just Google pulling images and showing you a bunch, and you could also see more images for coloring book animals for kids. So I would put what you actually kind of want to do, and I haven't talked about this yet, but with YouTube and for kids books, you could be recording either just like you reading the book, or what might work better is if you have the PDF, just scrolling through the PDF on your computer. Like take a screenshot of you scrolling through the PDF and maybe reading it, and then upload that to YouTube, because that's just another way to kind of use the same content and put it up in different places. So on YouTube, if people go to YouTube and they search for best animal coloring books for kids or whatever, there are certain websites that always show up well on Google. So YouTube is one of them, and it's a kind of thing like coloring books are not what people would consider regular content for YouTube. Like people wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to go to YouTube to find coloring books. But YouTube videos show up well for Google results. So if you're the only person who is making YouTube videos about animal coloring books for kids or animal activity books for kids, that's an easy way to show up and to get a really good ranking. But the idea is not just to show up for like best activity books for kids, or best animal books for kids, or animal best books for kids who love animals, which is also something you should do. If you haven't already, you should definitely have a section on your website that's just, you know, my top 20 best books for kids who love animals. You also want that kind of content because parents and kids, they will be searching for stuff like that, and that's also the kind of thing that most other authors aren't doing. They're not building that kind of content, not just for kids books, for any kind of book. That's good content that works, but most authors don't think about those things. So you do want to make content like that focuses on the books, but you can get a lot more visibility if you also make content for searches like coloring pages, like free downloadable. I would also search for stuff like, you want to do more than one search. So I'd like do this search first. And the point is you want to look at what sites show up. So here's just coloring.s animals. This looks like it just has a bunch of different animal pages. So you'd want to contact them or see if you can submit your coloring book pages to this website and have them show up. Same thing down here. This is on Pinterest. You want to make this stuff, put it up on Pinterest. That's a good way to get traffic back to your site. Here's supercoloring.com, which I think just has a bunch of coloring books. And then here is Amazon. So here's coloring books for kids or toddlers. This is an Amazon category. So you want to, now that you know, for example, now that you know that this Amazon category shows up, here's one on iTunes, here's one on Amazon. These are categories that are showing up, so you want to make sure your book is in this category. So that's something else you can do, is just click on this and see this category and make sure you've added your book to this category, because this is the category that shows up on the first page of Google. And then there's a couple of coloring book for kids that are Google Play links, so the Google Play Store. So you may, if you are not in Kindle Unlimited, and for kids books or coloring books, you don't want to be in Kindle Unlimited because that's not really, you won't get, there's not a lot of pages, so you won't get the extra benefit from page reads income anyway. So there's no harm in putting your books up on Google Play. I would probably do that. You do need to make the ebook version, but then since you know that like these two links show up, coloring books for kids, animal, and animals coloring books, those are places you want your book to be. So make sure you figure out where these categories are, make an ebook version of your book, and upload it to Google Play. I think Google Play now, like there was a way to use Pronoun. There was a way to use Pronoun, which was a site that allowed you to publish on Google Play. That shut down. I think you can do it with Draft Digital, but I'm not totally sure. And I also think you can apply to publish on Google Play directly, but it's not just open. I think you have to apply and get accepted or something like that. You can also, once you do a search like this, you can go down to the bottom and see these search results, and these are other searches that people are searching for. So here's coloring pages for kids, realistic animal coloring pages. That's a pretty cool one, which really fits your stuff, because your stuff is about weird and wacky animals, but you have the pictures. So if you're not already thinking about this, like now you know that people are looking for realistic animal coloring pages, and that's kind of a unique selling feature or benefit of your books is that they're not just cartoonish animal pages, they're like scientific or realistic animal coloring pages. People are also looking for printable or wild animal, zoo animal. Those are all really good keywords that you would want to include on your website. Like I would make these coloring book pages, then I would put a couple pages on your website, and then I would also put these coloring book pages on a lot of other people's websites, like supercoloring.com or whatever. Also pinning them to Pinterest, maybe making a YouTube video like I mentioned. There isn't any YouTube videos showing up. I'm not sure if that's because there aren't any YouTube videos or just because Google knows that if you're looking for coloring book pages, you're probably not looking for YouTube videos. The other search I did was animal activity worksheets for kids. So again, these are all images that show up. This is Pinterest again, so you really do want to have a bunch of stuff on Pinterest for your keywords. So I'd put it up on your website first. I'd make a page or several pages. Like I'd make one page for coloring books and a different page for activity worksheets, just because you would hit different keywords. And now that I know what people are searching for, I would do something like realistic wild animal activity worksheets for kids, because then you hit all the keywords. Or realistic wild animal coloring pages for kids, free download, something like that. There's also something here, it's Anglomaniaxia. I'm not sure what that is, but you want to look at what other, there's a bunch of images from that website actually, so they're showing up really well. I'm not actually sure how to say their brand name, Anglomaniacy, I guess. And this looks like it's worksheets for kids learning English, which is a little different, but it shows up pretty well. But here's also just education.com, worksheets, animals, teachervision.com. So these are sites like you basically, you do a couple searches and then you look at the results and you see like people who are searching for things. I would also do, because I know that this isn't exactly what you already have. This is, I think, content that you should make because you'll reach more searches. But you should also do something just like, so for example, best wild animal books for kids, scientific, or best scientific wild animal books for kids. Whoops. I think for coloring book pages, I think using best realistic wild animal books for kids, I think that's really smart. But for the actual book, they won't be searching for realistic. They'll be searching for scientific or something like that. They might also be searching for facts. I think that's a keyword. You'd have to experiment with it, but best wild animal facts books for kids, something like that, would just be another way to increase keywords. So this whole strategy is basically taking what you already have and turning it into something that hits more searches by providing value for what people want. So maybe some people are searching for books for kids. That's great. I hope they find your book. But some people are searching for coloring pages. Maybe they're not interested in a book right now. They just want a quick, easy, downloadable, realistic wild animal page for their kids. If they find yours and it has cool, weird and wacky facts and quotes on it, so it's also educational, they're also learning something, that's a great thing they can download for free. If they like it, they may go to your website to download more and then eventually buy a book. But you also want to show up in search results for stuff like this for people who are looking for books. So I'm going to search for that also. So here's an interesting tidbit. So when I search for best scientific wild animal facts books for kids, one of the ones that shows up is this other competitor. And like I said earlier, you should definitely have something on your website that's like the 20 best scientific wild animal facts books for kids, because most other people aren't doing that. So if you have the only piece of content on the internet that matches this, you're going to show up on the first page of Google. But it's interesting, this book, her Amazon book, shows right away up on the first page. And because Google knows that people who use these searches are probably looking for actual books, that's why you're going to get a bunch more Amazon things here. So the problem is people aren't really searching for weird and wacky. So if that's your brand, here you have all these keywords. You have weird and wacky creatures, strange, weird animals, but that's not necessarily the keywords that people are searching for. I'm going to do one more search, which is just animal books for kids, which is kind of like the most broad general search. And then I can go down here and see what else people are searching for. Children's animal books, nonfiction, picture books, etc. None of these are actually what you have, so it's not specific enough. But some people are searching for children's animal books, nonfiction, so that's kind of important. Nonfiction is a keyword you might want to put in. I also tried animal fact books for kids. So again, when you're searching for like specifically books, Amazon results come up. So you want to search for different kind of keyword strings and see what is actually showing up in Google. Ideally, your book should be showing up on the top of Google, but you have to know what people are searching for first. So I think the right keywords would be something like this: nonfiction, wild, animal facts, books for kids. It's kind of too much, but you kind of want to make sure you say some of that stuff in your book description, on your website or whatever, because you need to use keywords that show up for things. Parents, they're probably not going to search for all this stuff, but they might search for some of it. They might search for nonfiction animal books or wild animal facts or things like that. So the more keywords that you hit, the more likely you're going to show up. When you search specifically for books for kids like this, like I said, you get a lot of Amazon results, but you also get here, these are just the images again, but now it's showing you specific covers from Amazon. So you also want to make sure your book shows up here when people search for things. And they're not all from Amazon. Like this one is from Miles Kelly. It looks like it's the author. So when you upload your book cover to your website, you want to make sure that you use all the keywords so that it shows up. I'll show you real quick in WordPress is what that looks like. I just uploaded this animal picture. This is just what the image was originally named. And you want to make sure when you're using images, you can't just grab stuff from Google and use it. Even on your blog, you shouldn't really do that. But this is just what it was named by somebody else. So when I put it up on my website, I want to make sure that I change the name. So in WordPress and in most other sites, you can choose the name of it, and I would probably say something like you could name the specific animal. It's kind of weird if you don't, but then you might say something like, and again, like I could call it weird and wacky animal facts or something, but I don't think as many people are searching for weird and wacky. I think people are searching for like wild zoo animal or something like that. You can also do different ones. So you could try, upload 10 different images and just use different keywords on every one so that they show up. So you'll also see this in WordPress in your media library. When I click on this image, this is like if I'm going to put this image in a blog post, here's a link to the actual image. Here's this title that it came with because I downloaded it from somewhere else, which I'll just rename. You could say something like, depending on what you want to rank for, if this is a blog post about wild animal activity sheets, then I would put that in the description, in the title of the picture, because I want that picture to show up when people search for those keywords so they find my page. You can also do alt text and description. You don't necessarily need to. I usually just do the title. I wouldn't put a caption. You might want to put a description. Like this could be a longer description of your platform or your brand. So like, this is one worksheet from my website, the Weird and Wacky Planet series. Please visit my website to get more downloads or free cheat sheets or whatever. That's stuff you can include. It's probably a good idea. But in the very least, you want your title and maybe the alt text to include specific keywords. So going back to our search results, here's Geek Wrapped 100 Best New Science Books for Kids. That'd be great if you can get your book on their website. That's kind of tricky. You can always ask, and the worst they can do is say no. So you might want to find like all of the articles like this and just ask if maybe they'll add yours. But you also really want to figure out like what Amazon books are showing up for keyword searches and why they're showing up. So for example, this is Weird and Wild. That's pretty similar to your books. At least it has probably the same kind of audience, but they're showing up because they use wild in the title, whereas you're using weird and wacky, which even though it might be like it's better for benefits because people are like weird and wacky, that's fun and cool, but it's not as good for visibility because it won't show up when people are searching for things. Here's amazing animal facts. Amazon bestsellers, best children's science and nature books. That might be a really good category to get your book added to. The other nice thing about the ebook version that's really important to focus on, if you only have the print version, you can only add the basic categories because print books, especially if you're using CreateSpace, they don't really let you be as specific with your categories. So if you scroll down, you're in children's books, animals, which is okay, but probably too broad. With the ebook version, you can, through Kindle KDP, you can choose your categories, but you can also request up to 8 additional categories. So you can put your ebook version in more categories, which means if you can get in some of these other categories, like children's science and nature books, if you can get in that category and you know that that category shows up on the first page of Google for the right keyword searches, that's where you want to be. You want to make sure you're in those categories. So I would do a lot of keyword searches to find other books. You can also click on those other books and see what categories they're listed in. So if you scroll down here, they're in sports and outdoors, camping, science studies, nature, water, nature, oceans and seas. So these are just the 3 categories that they're ranking the best in, but they also must be in other categories. They used to, when you scroll down to the bottom of the page, they used to show all the additional categories. They don't do that anymore, so it's hard to know for sure. There is a way to check all the categories your book is listed in, but it's kind of just important. One hack that a lot of people use is you would find a less competitive category, because ideally you'll be in the top 20 of any category, because if you're not in the top 20, then you probably aren't showing up. So for example, in this Amazon bestsellers list of best children's and science fiction, then you have these smaller categories. So like you could get into biology, which might be a good fit. But these are just the books that show up in the top 20, and it may be hard for you to show up in the top 20. So you want to find smaller categories where you can show up higher, smaller categories with less competition. A good one might be children's books, science, nature, and how things work, and then go down to maybe farming and agriculture, but not really because yours is wild animals. I think mystery and wonders would be a good one. Nature would be a really good one, and zoology would be a great one. So you would want to publish the ebook version. We talked about that earlier, putting your book up on probably a fixed format ebook, then requesting, you have to contact KDP. You just go through the help tab and you say, please add my book to these categories, and you just list the categories. So I would click on like this, and then I would, to find it exactly, I think you have to click on the ones that are ranking well, and then you go down to see the categories that they're in. And like this book is in, this book's selling really well. It's in number 1 in these categories, which means since it's it only shows you the 3 that it's highest ranked in. So it's showing you the 3 that's highest ranked in, and it's not showing you that other category, which was zoology. But it's also in that category because it shows up for zoology. So this is another book that's about bugs, but you can see it has books, children's books, animals, bugs, and spiders, which means probably there's a different category for all different kinds of animals. And what you would do is just highlight the category you want and email customer support and say, please put me in this category. I'm actually going to click on this tab as well. So I'll show you a couple things. This is stuff that you're going to have to do the research. This was children's books, educational and reference, science studies, and then zoology or biology or something like that. But also, you could be in children's books, animals, and then choose some of these animals. So like reptiles and amphibians, fish. I'm not sure all, like these don't quite fit, and a lot of these, they don't look like the right kind of books because it's not nonfiction. But the point is, you can put your ebook in more categories, which makes it more likely for your book to show up. So when people are searching for keywords or books, and they see an Amazon category in the Google results, you want to see what categories are showing up in your Google results and then seeing how you can be added to those categories. And then also, like I mentioned before, if you see any other websites that are talking about the subject, like this looks like storyjumper.com, it's animal facts, free books and stories, children's stories online. If this is a company selling their own products, then it would be hard for them to recommend you. But if it's just a website that shares like the best children's books with animal facts, then they might add you to their list. So I hope this video provided you some ideas of what you can do. Basically, to summarize, even though your books look really good for print and they're designed for print, which I think is common for children's books, and even though a lot of people say, you know, kids and parents love print, so you should only focus on print, it's much easier to get the online visibility you need, and this is free, organic, long-term visibility, by also turning your book into an ebook, which means you can show up in more categories. It also means you can give away more copies to get more book reviews, which are really important. And also, you can repurpose the content of your children's books into some activity worksheets or some coloring book illustration pages so that you can put them up on different people's websites and also just provide more value. Like those could be, if you don't already have an opt-in offer, in the back of your children's book, you can say, make sure you sign up for some free coloring book pages that go along with this book. And then that kind of gives them a reason to go back to your website and download some stuff or sign up for your email list. And also it gives you a better chance of showing up for things. So when people search for animal fact books for kids, like maybe they're looking for books and they see your image. So you want to use keywords in your images. You want to upload, like when you upload your book to your Amazon page or to your website, you want to make sure you use keywords because your cover would show up here. But also, if they're not looking to buy a book right now, but they're looking for a free downloadable or a printable worksheet for kids, like a realistic wild animal coloring book worksheet or activity worksheet, those are different kinds of pieces of content that you can make pretty easily. Like I said, you just hire someone on Fiverr.com to turn some of your pictures into activity worksheets or coloring book pages so that you show up when people are searching for things. Then people can click on it. If this is all on your website or if it's on Pinterest, it really should be on both. Like you would upload it to your website, use all the keywords everywhere, then also pin it to a board on Pinterest, which is like wild animal coloring books and activity worksheets for kids. That would be one like Pinterest board where you upload all of this stuff. Then when people are searching for stuff, they'll find your images, they'll click on it, they might go to Pinterest, then they might go over to your website, and then once they're on your website, you can say, you know, sign up to my list to download this stuff, or, you know, make sure you buy the book. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff to do, but on the other hand, this is all stuff you can just set up once, and this is like long-term organic visibility for your books. And most other authors aren't doing any of this stuff, especially children's books authors, because, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of children's book authors, either they just don't know anything about online marketing or how to get visibility online, or they're focused too much on, well, this is a print book, so it's not, you know, coloring book worksheets or activity worksheets, or there's no reason to get the ebook because this is an activity book, so the ebook won't have any value because people have to use it on the iPad. There's a lot of limitations, like limited thinking, where a lot of children's books authors are not going to be doing any of this stuff. So I think doing some of this stuff, like you could spend a few weeks and do it once. Once you've made this content, then you can just keep writing more books or producing more books because your traffic and your visibility will keep improving all the time, and you're going to be getting basically all the traffic because parents are searching for stuff in Google. They're searching for best wild animal coloring books or best realistic wild animal fact books for kids, whatever. They're using Google to search for this stuff. You do want to make sure you show up not only in Amazon, but also in Google. On Amazon, it's kind of the same thing. Excuse me. We talked about a little bit earlier. You also want to be using the keywords here. You want to focus a lot more specifically on the benefits. You do need to break up this description into different paragraphs and use some like bold italic text. I know that's a little hard because in CreateSpace, there's not an easy way. They have a text box, but it's not easy because you have to use HTML coding to get it to look right. So one of the things you can do, there's a free tool. If you just Google Kindlepreneur description or free Amazon book description generator tool, Kindlepreneur has one which will let you design it the way that you want to, and then just copy the HTML code and paste it into CreateSpace. So here you just use your font and your different sizes. You can just add your description down here and then generate the code, and it will give you the HTML code that you put into CreateSpace. So it's important on your Amazon page that this looks really good, that you start off with a hook. So like Are Aliens Among Us is a pretty good hook, although you really want to focus on the keywords. So the problem with, one, you need to revise this so you have more keywords up here, but you also need your keywords probably in bold and as close to the top left as possible. So when you put aliens here, you're going to show up when people are searching for alien books, and that's not what you want to do. So you want to show up for, wild animal books. One of the ways you can do that, I've talked a lot about, is usually by looking at your reviews. So if you can find a way to first say something like, you won't believe these wild animals, or something more descriptive. It's on the top, you generally want something more descriptive, or a hook. So Are Aliens Among Us, that's a good psychological hook, but it's not a good keyword value proposition statement. So it's a balance between hooking their attention and very specifically describing the product in a way that tells them what the book is and also shows up for keyword searches. So it's a balance of those two, and that's always kind of tricky. You have to choose, but it's more important first to show up, because if you don't show up, then it doesn't matter what you say because nobody is reading. You have to show up first. That's why using keywords in your description and using keywords up here on the top left of your description is really important. Once people are showing up, then you get their hook. So I would probably change this to something like wild animal facts for adventurous kids. So I would put that up in bold, because then I would have wild animals, which is a great keyword, or wild animal facts, which shows that it's nonfiction or that it's science, and also the benefits, because adventurous kids. So wild animal facts for adventurous kids. Up here I would say weird and wacky creatures. You won't believe these wild animals actually exist. That's what I would put instead of all of this stuff. And then under wild animal facts for kids, then I would use the hook, Are Alien Among Us, and then blah, 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 down at the bottom. So I hope this video helped. I'm going to end because it's about an hour. I think this video is really important. No matter what kind of children's books you write, for any kind of shorter children's books or coloring book or any kind of a shorter picture book even, I think the tips in this video can really help. So I hope they've been useful to you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.